Hi, Kapil. I don't know if this is really a question. I'm, I'm just perplexed. I thought I would share it. Maybe you might understand if anyone does. I'm just perplexed. I have an elite, perhaps generational talent. It's been said to me by many who I think are qualified that I have a legendary ability in music, and I'm perplexed because I have nothing but time, nothing but opportunity, and I worked for it. I achieved, really otherworldly results in my career and financial endeavors, and the motivation that fueled that was, I thought, the desire to be free from worldly and societal nonsense. Freedom financially and freedom with my time and freedom from any obligations, so that I can allow for complete devotion to art. And, I don't know, it's been 3 years now since I accomplished that financial freedom. And I don't feel any pull. I miss the days when I was a child and a teenager, and I just truly loved creating music. And I was like a willing slave to my unending inspiration. And I loved the learning, I loved perfecting, and, I have what I think are incredible ideas, and I just don't have that pull at all. And I don't know, I'm perplexed. I don't have a question. It's not really.
Well, what you're saying is that the pull that you don't have the interest in the music anymore. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, it's there. Like, the idea comes, the inspiration comes. I hear it in my head. It's makes me cry. And then I don't have the pull to just find myself at the microphone, on the keys, at the guitar strings, and just there's nothing. I don't know why there's no
So
motivation.
you don't have the passion for it anymore. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure what you're saying. What?
I think what I'm saying is that I expected myself to have that. That's what I was dying for so long. When I was working like a dog and had no time and had no obligation, or had just loaded obligations. It was like I'm dying for any free time to work on these things. And yeah, it's now I have none of those things, and I can't. I don't want to force my. I know I could. Like, I know there's a part of me I could force myself to do it. But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that.
Or are you saying that? I'm still confused.
Mm.
Are you saying that you had the opportunities and the ability to perform and all those things, and now those things are not there? Is that what you're saying? And you're looking for the, or what do you spell it out? Second grade level, spell it out.
Okay. I always felt I'm an artist at heart, and meanwhile, I was busy accomplishing financial endeavors that had nothing to do with my art. And my motivation to.
Okay, so your financial, what you're saying is the opportunities and the financial freedom and all those things, they came from something besides the music, is what you're saying.
They came from, they had nothing to do with the music.
You got to be you have to be very clear when you speak in terms of like what, because the whole time I was thinking all your opportunities were from the music. So
I see.
you have to be very clear when you're precise with word choices. So you're saying that the freedom and the opportunity that you have were outside of music, and now those things are able to fund your music, but now you don't have the interest in music anymore. What you're saying.
Yeah, that's about right. And it perplexes me that I don't understand, because the motivation felt so real at that time. Obviously it was to deliver the results that it did. I mean, I just made money investing and managing. I started small. It was not, it was stock market, that's what it was. And it was just, that's where I made money. I worked, had my money, invested it masterfully, and did things that no one would believe. That's the truth. And my motivation for that was I wanted to be free from it all. I wanted to not have to do that anymore. I didn't want to have to go to an office, didn't have to work, and I didn't want to have to worry about money, so that I have free time, so that I have no interruptions and no obligations, and I can just devote the rest of my life to music and art and just allow it to be whatever it's going to be. And I'm allowing it to be whatever it's going to be, and 3 years later, I've done nothing. I'm just perplexed, and I'm trying to.
I think the perplexing is because I don't think you know what you really want, and to know what you really want is not a small. To know what you really want is oftentimes not a very trivial or small thing. So I think you on the one hand, there would be a thing that you think that you should want, and that's fine. But I don't think that you know what you really want.
Yeah, I think that's right. I've been through a lot of cycles where, if you had asked me 15 years ago, I would have said I want to be a world famous artist. And as time has gone by, and as I've lived life, it's become far less about entertaining or interesting anybody else, or playing for anybody else, or creating for anybody else. But
have you been looking into truth for a while, or just for a short time?
Looking into it, I think it's always been there. I've only started recognizing it and sort of labeling it as looking into truth for, let's call it 6 or 7 years. But that's.
And then how long have you been following my work?
Yeah, well, you know what, the truth, I remember finding your work maybe 10 or 12 years ago, and it rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, oh, this guy's insane. And then funny enough, now you're the only person that I would bother even reading or considering listening to.
So there's a reason why I asked that question. And the reason why I asked that question, and I can't make any conclusions from it because I don't presume things about what someone is feeling. Yeah, that's up to them to describe. The reason why I asked that question is because truth hits people in different ways, and there's no predicting for a given individual how truth is going to hit them and at what angle it's going to hit them. There's no predicting that. It is different for everyone. And so there's a very specific reason why I asked you the question about how long have you been looking into truth? How long have you been following my work? The reason I asked that question is because oftentimes, and one of the many ways that truth can hit a person potentially is that he begins to see through some things. He begins to see through the opaqueness and perhaps the shallowness of some things. And I'm not saying that your creativity and music is shallow. Not at all. I'm not saying that at all. In fact, I think talent and devotion to art, I think, is central to to a human life. I mean, that's how much I value it. But what I'm saying is that different human beings have different DNAs, and different human beings are at different levels of the evolutionary, place, right? And so for one person, like, truth could hit him in a certain way that he begins to, or his insides, his interiority seems to resonate with truth above other things which used to resonate with him before. And I'm not at all saying this is what's happening with you. I don't psychoanalyze people. I don't do all that nonsense. I'm saying, I'm very careful with my words. This is one way in which it can manifest for a given individual who doesn't have to be you. But when you say these things, this tends to come to mind. And so this is a possibility. It doesn't mean it is this case. It is a possibility. And so for some people, truth can increase their ambition, and in other people, truth can take away their ambition, because they're like, well, what's the point of anything? And then I just want to know what the secrets of the universe are, and so, like, once again, the angle at which truth hits a given individual, it's a very, very, very powerful thing, and it you cannot underestimate the power of it's a tsunami and a tornado times a million, and what it can do to this on a cellular level of a human being is unpredictable and powerful. And so, yeah, what you're describing can happen. I'm not saying it did happen. I'm saying it can happen. That's what came to mind when you were mentioning these things.
I appreciate that. It resonates, at least certainly the part about just the magnitude of that impact. I'm unrecognizable from 10 years ago, except for when I make an effort to be recognizable for people. But I know I'm unrecognizable from that time. I think I just, I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy when a great idea comes into my heart. I enjoy that. I get excited about the idea. I enjoy how it feels and how it sounds in my head. And, that in itself almost feels complete. It's almost enough. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's something there that, maybe that's what that looks like for me, is that just having that in my heart and in my head for myself and experiencing that great idea musically is enough. Like,
it's very interesting. I mean, this really is like another dimension. This really is like the cutting edge of human. This is really the cutting edge of the human journey, which is not being explored anywhere on this planet. How truth hits a person on the fundamental physiologic, neurological, cellular level is so the implications of that, which are manifested by the stories such as yours, the implications of that are so profound oftentimes that you just can't explain them. And that's why I don't say that anyone should follow the truth or read my work, because number one, I know that it's a plutonium bomb, and nobody wants to walk into a plutonium bomb. Now, I'm making it sound negative because sometimes it can be negative for a given individual. It can change the way that a person is. They can go from being a materialist to someone that even the monks would idolize. And there's no way. Once again, there's no way to predict. But I find that truth is the ultimate art. Even the talents that a human being is given on a materialistic and relativistic scale, the talents that a human being is given are pure and natural and truth. But I think even beyond, but that's just on the materialistic and human domain. But even beyond that is the ultimate art of truth, and there's nothing higher. And so what I feel is that there's ancient stories of, like, some master sitting in the mountains, and this person who's been maybe for eons on the verge of falling over into so-called self-realization, happens by him, right? And the master says like a sentence, and the guy becomes enlightened. I mean, whatever the word enlightened, I don't want to go that route. And someone would say, well, that's just a sentence. How can he? Well, that's because where the guy was, right? That's where that person who was walking towards that master, that's where he was on the verge, right? And it just took a breath to knock him over the edge into that sphere. And that's what I mean by human beings are at a different level of evolution. And that's why it can't be judged as you're in a bad level, or you should seek truth. That's a judgment against where one is, and that's insane. That you can't do that. They didn't choose to be here or there, so everyone's on their own journey to find their ultimate home, right? And so it it can absolutely transform someone. And so within someone, I don't think anyone can really know where they are on that journey until they come face to face with a truth or several truths or a source of truth. Because then I'm not going to say how they react, because that would be behavioral. How their interiority reacts to that exposure to truth reveals, not like as a judgment reveal, but reveals to themselves where they actually are on that scale, and without any hierarchical like judgment or anything. And so oftentimes the ones who are fairly evolved into that level of truth from past eons or past lives, however you want to say it, oftentimes they are like very amenable and reachable and susceptible to truth, and their interiority responds in a very dramatic way because they themselves are perhaps at a more evolved level. That, like, once again, I'm not saying you or somebody, I'm just saying that's on a bird's eye view what oftentimes tends to happen.
It's kind of like water sitting at 99 degrees, and then the one
That's
line
exactly
said,
right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That's my point. And actually, and people, I would say that people who are like that, whether there's 5 or 9 or 742, whatever, small number, but people who are like that, actually, oftentimes, their greatest art and their greatest pursuit, and their perhaps the best way they can spend their remainder of their life is in the devotion to truth. And that is dictated not by me. That is dictated by the visceral and dramatic reaction of their interiority to having been exposed to truth. That is what is dictated. That's what's revealed to them by themselves.
Yeah, this is why I say, like, it's not, it's, I mean, 3 years is not, one could say it's not a long time, one could say it's a very long time. I feel that it's a very long time. And I say this, I don't say that I'm disappointed, right? I don't say that I'm upset or disappointed that I'm not pursuing these things. I don't, it's actually more interesting to me to get to the bottom of, well, what was that all for? What was that incredible motivation to come to this point, and then to see yourself, you have this expectation or this idea that, of course, you know, uh, it was all for enabling art. And then you come and you reach this point and you sit and you say, that's not at all what's happening. I'm not disappointed. I'm not, I wouldn't even say I'm bothered by it. But I would say I'm perplexed, and not, and perhaps that's just it, is that, I'm almost more interested in getting to the bottom of why that's the case, understanding that.
And a lot of your perplexing situation, perhaps is even related to being perplexed as to why you're not disappointed.
Being perplexed as to, yeah, I mean, yeah, that was part of it. And then, I was able to understand, because, if there's one thing that I've understood so far, it's that the magic lies in watching where you find yourself pulled, like where
100%,
like
100%. That's true.
Right. So if I'm not doing something, I'm not perplexed as to it, and it's. I allow myself to say that's okay. I'm not gonna wonder why I'm not disappointed about something, or I'm excited about something. I just, whatever it is, I'll just let that be and enjoy it. But not, it's just baffling to me. I mean, it feels like a childhood dream come true. Like, really, like someone gave me a magic wand, and at any age, you ask me, here's your magic wand, and this is what I would have created for myself. And I even, I understand how my motivations have changed. There was a time when creating music was about doing the impossible, creating something and saying, I could have never imagined I could have created that. I could have never imagined I could have produced something like that. And then as you get a little older, and of course the adulation and attention you get from it is a nice motivator, and gives you confidence, it gives you support, it gives you, and then it creates a bunch of falseness. So if I just fast forward through all that, I go, there are some artists who I have come across, and I can count them on one hand, and you could cut off 2 fingers and I could still count them. So it's not a lot, but they're so genuine, and they're so unlike anything that I've ever seen. That they resonate with me musically, they resonate with me personally, and you won't call yourself a poet, but I would call you a poet, or at least your work poetry, and so when I feel that resonating so much, and then don't see like anything at all, like it's baffling to me that
And then I think this is a wonderful example. It's one thing for me to say something, and it's something else for examples to show up and present themselves in real living color. And this is why I always say it isn't about all those things like the self-help and all those things. Those are conscious, intentional, effortful behavior modification. And that's complete garbage, nonsense, stupidity, idiocy. Because as you are describing here, what you are describing is what your interiority has done to you, irrespective and regardless and despite what you consciously wanted. And that is how things work. That is the truth, which the experts don't understand and they never will. It is what a person desires on a visceral level, unbeknownst to him.
Right.
It is where his interiority leads him, not where he, by way of manipulation and forceful behavioral modification, tries to lead himself, which is nonsensical. And that's why one is best off, especially in these situations, to listen to his interiority. Because what I find is perhaps the greatest tragedy is not for a person not to move towards truth in this lifetime. What I find is perhaps the greatest tragedy is the one who perhaps has the readiness for it, one who perhaps has the evolution for it, one who perhaps has the DNA for it, and then that person specifically not pursue truth because they have a real chance.
Yeah, that is the greatest tragedy.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I'm grateful to be here. Thank you so much for your work. I found your work about 1 year back. So at this time in my life, I had just finished completing something that I was chasing after for about a year prior to that. And at this point in my life, I was kind of in immense pain and suffering because that point, just before I got the success, I realized the emptiness of it in the sense that I could see that the motivations that the people around me were driven by was fundamentally different from what I wanted. And the very last mile of that effort, I had to kind of push myself through despite all resistance from my interiority, so to speak. And I think your work just came after that. And it kind of like, I was drawn to it so much that from like trying to hard work my way through life, which I was doing prior to reading your work. Now I became like, I was spending the entire day reading your discourses, basically. Okay, and as the months have passed, I find myself more and more interested in the truth. And so much so that, like, I purchased a Direct Truth podcast recently, and I had to like stop myself from purchasing any more because it was just kind of like, I was going to lose all my money, kind of. So I had to stop myself from doing that. And that too, I had to kind of realize that I already had what I needed in some sense. So the place I find myself right now is that I kind of see that in the world, like I want something that is beyond the world. I don't want anything that is in the world, but I also recognize that the practical thing around me is for me to kind of do what is in front of me, so to speak, and not try to escape into some mystical fantasy about what could be. So I find myself kind of going back and forth here because I wish for something in the beyond. So if I could find something that could just take me there and it could not break, what I mean by that is it would not be an illusion that I chase, but something that is permanent. But every time I find myself in that phase, I always lose it because I recognize that it's kind of a pleasure chase in some sense. Like I get caught up by the images that my mind presents instead of the essence of it. And like I don't see any practical, like I see the emptiness of things. So it doesn't seem like there's nothing to do as such in this life in some sense, except to realize truth. But I also see that if I don't go along with what is practical in the world, I don't know where I'll end up because I just don't know what I will do. And so I'm kind of afraid to some extent, but I think I'm not even afraid now. But I just don't know what is there. Like, so I would appreciate.
You don't know what is where.
like I don't see anything in the future in some sense, like I have no idea what will happen next. And that takes my mind from,
What do you mean you don't know? I'm not sure what you're saying. You got to be very clear. I don't know what'll happen next. Do you mean like the events of your life? What do you mean like no one knows what will happen next?
like, okay, so I mean, like there is a basic level of practicality I need to subscribe to in order to get things moving in the world.
What do you mean by that? You cannot speak in code.
Okay.
You have to spell it out. What do you mean by get things moving in the world?
Okay.
Word choice, word choice, word choice.
So like I'm a student, right? So in the sense I'm in college. I'm like a graduate student, so I need to work on my research / publish papers in order to get my career moving forward.
Yes. So by that, what you mean, and that's what I thought you meant, but I wanted to clarify. By that, like you get things moving in the world, you mean that you have to find a way to make a living, more or less. Okay. And that is true. That is true. That's priority number one. You have to make a living to be able, if you want to live in the world and you don't want to go live in a cave, then you have to make a living and you have to feed yourself and, whatever family you end up having. And that absolutely is 100% true.
But I don't know how far I will go. So
what does that mean?
So
I don't know how far I will go. Spell it out.
Okay, so I'll give you like in a practical sense, I almost spent half my money on direct route podcasts. So like my desire for the truth is great. And I think I have verified that for myself. There's no doubt about that. Now the question is, like, what does that look like practically, right? So do I get do I look for an exit in some sense? Do I look for an opportunity which can take me somewhere else completely?
So I think the problem with human beings arise on many levels. And one of the levels in which the problems with human beings arise is when they ask the question, what should they do?
Mhm.
Because no one can tell them that. And because there's no right answer. And so they have to, that's what I was talking to the previous individual about. A human being's interiority speaks to him. And oftentimes it is that interiority which is perhaps their only guide. And I'm not saying it's correct or incorrect or whatever it is, but I think to ask an external agency what is the right thing to do, or that they should pursue this or that, I think is a very dangerous game, because anything can be a reasonable answer to that question. I think you should stay in school. I think you should follow the truth. I think you should do X, Y, and Z. Anybody can say anything. So there's no answer to that as to what you should be doing, because there are many different paths, and it would be an affront and a crossing the line into your sovereignty to say that this is what you should do, or that's what you should do.
No, I think to clarify, I'm 100% with you on that. But I think, so what ends up happening is that like in trying to find the untruths in the world, like I tend to go down that rabbit hole way too often. And my mind tends to go there. The first instinct is always to go there. Like what's the garbage, so to speak, in the situation. So what ends up happening is even the like small kernel of truth that may exist in the situation tends to be overlooked because my mind's attention is devoted to the finding of the untruth. And now this is a limitation on my part because, like I've come with an assumption that I have to find untruth, right? And that itself is holding me back. But like the mind gets pulled there no matter what I do. So like I can't stop that. And I keep going there again and again. And I really wish I would be able to kind of zone it out completely and never have to look at it again. And
everyone's journey is different, and everyone's interiority takes them on their own unique path, and everyone struggles with this or that, and where it takes you and how it takes you is something that is uniquely your own. But I will say that I think there's a blessing in those who, for whatever reason, happen to resonate with truth, because it's not very many people. It's a very, very small number of the population. And wherever that takes them and however it takes them there is something that cannot be predicted. And I don't think that it should be necessarily manhandled either. So it's just a journey which unfolds, and one finds themselves going where they go according to where their interiority takes them. So